Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well, and Facecam. Been a while since I've done this on YouTube, but I did promise that I would talk about this, because it is, well, it's about just gone 1 o'clock on Friday. The Netflix anime released yesterday, and I did originally record my overall thoughts yesterday, immediately after finishing binging it, because I ended up binging the entire series yesterday when it came out. But that video ended up being nearly 2 hours long, and given that I still have a what if, which is going to take a while to edit through, I've finally finished the script on it, need to do the voiceover, and then need to edit it all together. And I don't really think I have the patience to do 2 big edits at the same time, so I wanted to re-record it, cut out all the unnecessary fluff, and basically just give my overall thoughts without too much, dancing around the issues. So, what are my overall thoughts? Because I binge watched it, I noted things down on my phone. What are my overall thoughts? Honestly, it's kind of meh to me, honestly. I was disappointed. I was legitimately disappointed. And that saddens me. I wanted this to be good. I really did. I suppose the biggest question is, would I rewatch it? Would I go back and watch it again? Because that's the mark of a good series. If you watch it and it's good enough that you'd actually willingly watch it again without having to. Would I? No, I wouldn't. It's a shame. As much as I wanted to like this, I didn't. Initially, I was going to give it maybe like a 6 out of 10. Kind of above average, but as time went on, I realised just how I really felt about a lot of the aspects of this show. I would say overall, just, skip, if I were to give it a rating, 5. I'd probably give it a 5 out of 10. It's not bad. It's not terrible, but it's not really that good either. As an Onimusha series, which is kind of the heart of the problem here. What we get in this series could have been good were it not using Onimusha. It could be a good series, but not a good Onimusha series, and therein lies the problem. Let's just kind of go over, step by step, what works, what doesn't. And let's get the elephant in the room out of the way, the animation. Because I know for a lot of people that was a deal breaker. It wasn't for me, and I would honestly argue that the animation is one of the strong points. There are moments where it really does kind of show its jank, but overall, I think the animation was actually quite good. It was fine. It did the job, and it did the job rather well, I think. So, yeah, that wasn't really an issue. The characters is also where some of the merits shine through a bit. The majority of the protagonists do become engaging over time. The problem that I have, however, is even with some of the good characters, outside of characters like Musashi and the young girl as well, who we saw in the trailer. The young girl, her name is Seo, because she and Musashi are the biggest mainstays, and they have good time to develop as characters. With the others, because it isn't just those two, there are others that are kind of mainstays in the party. It's not just Musashi, there are a few others. It's like a party of people with Musashi and Seo at the helm. They, at first, become kind of hard to really care about, but over time, they develop and they do become engaging and interesting characters. The problem I have with some of the characters, and this what is one of the protagonists in particular that kind of really emphasizes this problem for me, is that in regards to their character development and kind of really getting the audience on board with these characters, they're not really given enough time. Sometimes it feels like it's just as the characters starting to get likeable, starting to get more engaging and interesting, and then just cuts off. That's it. No more of that character. These characters needed more time to kind of make them more impactful in the end. The villains... The villains is where things go downhill for me. Out of all the villains we see, the major and the minor antagonist, there's only one that I liked. and he shows up right at the end. The main villain, in particular, I find is probably one of the least engaging characters. One of the characters I liked the least. Purely because, again, it's Onimusha, and he is so over the top in a way that doesn't fit Onimusha. I'm going to say right now, this is minor... I'm not sure if this is minor or major spoilers, because I'm not going to spoil, the motivation of what happens. But it's mostly the name, and the name probably won't mean anything to anyone because it's not a character we know. It's a character that exists solely in this series. But it's a character that is named Iemon. Iemon. And I will admit, what didn't help while I was watching this is that I was watching the Japanese dub with the English subtitles, and when his name came up, my brain saw that, and I immediately decided that it was a lowercase L, not an uppercase I. So until about episode 6 or 7, I was calling him Lemon.
I'm the man who's gonna burn your house down with the lemon!
That's all so I couldn't take him seriously, so that might be my issue, is the fact that for the majority of the series, I thought his name was Lemon. Like, it feels like it's one, like, the writers decided they wanted that really eccentric, over-the-top villain because they thought it was quirky. It just doesn't fit the setting. So I couldn't take the villain seriously. And in regards to, like, really poorly done characters, there's another set of characters that appears in one episode, and when I say appear, I mean they're never seen or even, like, alluded to before then. An episode starts, and it immediately cuts to the main, Musashi's party fighting them. Like, we don't even know who they are, where did they come from, and they're on screen for about 2 minutes. These villains have less screen time in the entire series and less character and personality than the zombie warriors in their debut episode. The zombie warriors in their first appearance have more screen time than these legitimate antagonists, these minor antagonists do in the entire series. And it's easy to forget they even exist. The only reason I remember is just because of how baffled I was at this. But yeah, that's my thought on the characters. It's a mixed bag. And honestly, I think there's more bad than good. The story is honestly where I have the biggest issue. Because, for one, even ignoring the fact that this is supposed to be Onimusha and it's taking a lot less from the games than I would have liked, the story in and of itself is just kind of not that interesting to me. Though I think it doesn't help is the fact that as the guy who's kind of built a bit of a reputation as basically the lawman for Onimusha, I was naturally zeroed in on that. And not only does it not take much from the games, it takes practically nothing from the games. Even worse for me, story-wise, the stuff it does take from the games isn't the same as it is in the games. The only things we ever see that are reminiscent of the games are the Oni Gauntlet, the existence of the Oni and the Genma, and the single familiar Genma we see, which is the Zombie Warrior. The most basic Genma we see in any Onimusha game that appears in every game except for Samurai's Destiny because they were replaced by the Oda soldiers. Those are the only things that are actually kind of even referenced in this series. Past events in any of the 5 PS2 games, at the very least, you would think they would at least have some references to Warlords. Like maybe a couple of Genma variants from Warlords, like a Three Eyes, the Bazoo, maybe a mention of Osric or Guildenstern or Fortinbras. Nothing. You'd think they would at least pull something from there, given that that was the most recent official release with Warlords HD in 2018. Nothing. There is nothing. There's no reference to Musashi's first canon appearance in the manga whatsoever. It's nothing. In fact, the things that it does reference, like I said, it changes. The Oni clan, in the actual game series, the Oni clan do what they do, not just because they're enemies of the Genma, but because they are actively acting in defense of humanity. They are known, not just through what we see of them in person, but we also see it through different documents throughout the games as well, where they have had multiple positive interactions with humanity throughout the years, mostly throughout the Onin War. But they're known to be benevolent. They're known to fight on behalf of humanity. It's not one of those things where it's like, it's just, okay, we have a common enemy. No, they're actively trying to protect humanity from the Genma. Here, it's like slaying the Genma is their singular focus to the point where they don't really care about anything else. And it bothers me. But that's the story aspects I'm not fond of. I suppose all that's left after that is the action. Never mind the story and the characters, how about the action, which is, one of the main things Onimusha is known for, the actual fights between, the humans, the Oni, and the Genma. Is the action? Honestly, I would say that is actually one of the strongest points about this. With the exception of maybe one or two, the action scenes are honestly really fun and engaging. Especially in one or two episodes where it feels like sometimes it actually gives other characters the chance to shine, because, like I said, it's not just Musashi involved here, there are other characters. And these other characters do get their chance to shine. And they all have their own different specialities when it comes to combat, how they fight. And there are moments where it focuses on them and how they win, basically. How they are able to survive. And it works. This, I feel, is where the series is at its strongest. So, if you're going in to the Netflix anime hoping for some good action, you will probably like this. You will probably enjoy it. But if you're like me and you're a super fan and you care about the actual overall story of the series, you will be disappointed. Or at the very least, I don't know if you'll be as disappointed as I am, because again, I may be putting too much focus on it, but it bothers me. It really, really bothers me. And as for the Genma, again, looking back at the characters now, and again, minor spoiler, the Genma, like I said, the zombie warriors were the only Genma that we see that are reminiscent of anything we see in the games. Everything else is just mutated humans. In fact, it's so different to the games, but at the same time, it's never really elaborates on what it actually is. So, it's almost as if the series is expecting the viewer to know what the Genma are, but at the same time, changing what the Genma are to the point where you need to be told what they are. So in the end, I think this is just a perfect example of this could have been good if it were its own IP, but the fact that it's trying to be Onimusha while also changing what makes Onimusha Onimusha kind of ruins it. It can be a good series, but it's not a good Onimusha series. And for me, sometimes I feel like I might be being a little bit generous. Sometimes I'm not certain, but for me overall it's a 5 out of 10. And I probably wouldn't rewatch it. In all honesty, I consider this to be non-canon, just because of how much has changed. If anything, I see this as more of like an alternate universe kind of thing. But I do not consider this canon. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I know some people did enjoy it, both within and without, inside and out of the Onimusha fandom. But for me, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan, and I'm so disappointed. But in the end, whether or not it was good never really mattered. What mattered is whether or not it has the same effect on Onimusha as the Dragon's Dogma anime did. Because from what I understand, that one was kind of crap, but it still did draw in enough attention to the series that they got a game out of it. We'll see. Hopefully, we do still get a game out of this. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Those are my thoughts. If you are a fan of Onimusha content, then be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any more. I would very much appreciate it. As I said, I'm still working on another What If. The script is finally done, so hopefully over the next couple of days I can work on doing the voiceover, and then we can get to the editing process. But it's going to be another long one, and and as we started doing in our last What If, we are incorporating the manga now, which has kind of opened up a few more possibilities for different story bits. So, yeah, this is going to be a long one, but I am quite happy with how this one's going to go. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and hopefully I'll see you all next time. Take care, everybody. Danish out.